Hi and welcome to Triangulation Development number 1. On the first one of the triangulation developments that we did, we basically done a 3-inch square, a 1-inch square, and the square to square cone was basically 1.5 inches high. So I'll just go through how to put that on the screen. Just remember we will need a plan view and a front or side view. So first we're going to go to the rectangle command. Just click the rectangle command. Make sure your F9 key is on so it's going to snap to the grid. And then I'm just going to put my first point down and type Shift 2. That gives us the @ sign. And then 3,3, enter. That will give us our first square, which is 3 by 3. The other square is central to it. If you look at the drawings, so I'm just going to come in with my rectangle. You can see I'm already on the snap. Each one of these snap segments is 1/2 inch. So if it's a 3 by 3 and I want a 1 by 1 in the middle, I simply have to go 1 inch in, 1 inch up, start my rectangle, 1 inch across, 1 inch up, and left click, and I could drop that thing down in the center. Now, if I didn't have the snap on, it would be a little bit more difficult, but basically what you could do is to draw a line across the center from corner to corner, upper right to lower left. Same thing on the small square. You can draw both squares any way you want, and then pick up the small square by the midpoint of the line and drop it on the midpoint of the line of the large square. That will actually centralize it. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is to put the fold lines on there. That's one in each corner. You can do this manually by going around one by one, or you could actually use the array command and use a polar array from one corner. Make it 4 items, and it should put this thing right the way around the outside. Okay, so that's the first part done. That's looking down on top of the cone. So now we have to just move that up a little bit, and we're going to go 1.5 inches. So we're going to start with a polyline, come down from this corner, and you'll note if I go to this and pull down, it will actually give me a green line. So that tells me that I'm still on track. I'm just going to pop it there. There's my first line. I'm going up 1, 2, 3. That's 1.5 inches. And 1 inch in so that it's directly in line with this one. Alternately, I could just bring my little line down, make sure I'm 3 squares up, and it will be in the right place. I'm coming across 2 clicks because that's 1 inch. And then I'm coming down level with this one. So I've got the side view complete, and I just close off the bottom, and now we're ready to go. Now it's a cone, but it's a square cone. A bit like a pyramid if you like, without the top on. It's just hollow there because we're going to join that onto a piece of tube or something. It's just the expander or reducer section that we would normally do on a square to square. So first things first, as we've covered in the lessons, it's very important we have to work out a true length of these lines. Now it's a true length because if you can imagine on this face, you're looking down from the top and it's slanting. This is like 1.5 inches up, and this is on the ground level. So this is actually slanting down 1.5 inches down towards the outer side. It's a bit like looking on this edge here and imagining turning it through 90 degrees, so you're actually coming down sloping towards you off of this edge. Now because of that, this view doesn't show you a true length, and this view doesn't show you a true length. This one's sloping down, and this one's sloping towards you. So we have to develop out the true length lines of each one of these edges. Well, luckily enough, this first one's pretty simple. All of these edges are the same. So we just have to work it out, really, the ones. So first things first, come up to the polyline, place a line on the top of the object and just move it across. It doesn't really matter how much. You can always extend it if you need to. and another one from the baseline and bring that one across. This is just for our developments. Then we're going to put a line to start where our development is going to be. I would normally move it away a little tiny bit from the view from the front or side. So I'm just going to go here and just drop myself a line down. Now this point here is going to be where I'm going to drop all of my circles to measure the plan length. All of these, because this is a plan view, all of these I'm going to take off of here are plan lengths. Now we use circles to measure the radius, or in other words, we use the radius of the circle, sorry, to measure the length of the line, so that even though I'm measuring at an angle here, when I drop it down here, the radius of course is the same all the way around the circle, so the circle itself will intersect this line here at some point. So let's get on with it. These lines are white. Like in the lessons, I'm going to change this color. Maybe I'll use yellow first. I'm going to measure this line here. So grab a circle, drop it on the corner, and use the radius to measure the length of that line. And you can see that this is actually up at around about a 45 degree. Well, exactly a 45 degree because it's square to square. And if I were to just rotate this by the center point here, it would kind of turn it down to there. Now we need to turn these flat to the plane of view so that we can actually see what size they are. So if I just lifted this circle up, it would technically do that. It would turn this around. This is like the minute hand on a clock. It's the same length all the way around. Okay, so if I drop this down here, I see where it would actually touch down here on the baseline. So I'm going to copy, so we can leave that in place, that circle from the middle down to that point I put as the base point. Then I'll right click and enter to get rid of that. This line between the true height of the object and the plan length of the object, between here and here, is the true length. So I'm going to draw that line on from that top line. Make sure you get it right on the top and just project it down. Now I haven't put this line on yet. This one is the 3-inch baseline. It's going to be 3 inches, 3 inch there, 3 inch there. It's flat to view, so therefore you could use that actual dimension. I'm just quickly going to pop it back to white for a second. Grab a polyline and put the first point of our development up here. Move it to the right, type 3 and enter, and that is our polyline. Now if you can imagine that this baseline here is this baseline there. So we've developed this circle to find this edge, so it goes on the left hand side of the base. As this is this, it goes on the left hand side of the development. Get my color back eventually, when it wants to play, of course. Let me pull that one down. Yellow. I'm going to draw my circle down the true length line with its center point there. Turn my F9 key off so I can get it dead on. There we go. And the end point right on the end of the line. So this goes there. So now I'm going to copy this big circle. You can get near the outside of the object or to the center to pick it up. And I'm going to put it right there on the left hand side of that line. And then enter. Okay, now the next thing we need to do, now that we've got that side, is to triangulate exactly whereabouts this arc we need to go. Okay, that means that we have to come from the right hand edge and put another circle that will give us a line of intersection. So the other circle we want will come from this corner and go up to this corner. So I'm going to change colors to green. This is just for the top left. I'm going to grab a circle. I'm going to put my center point on this corner and drag it where I need it to go. It needs to intersect the yellow so that I can find that top corner. So I'll just drop it down there. Now I will move it, or in this case copy it, from its center point to that line there so that we can measure along the baseline, and basically that is the measurement that we've transferred from there to there. So I'm going to take a line now, come from the true height down to that point there, which is the plan length. Next thing I have to do is to put a circle on this. I always put the center points at the top so it doesn't confuse with the plan lengths that I'm putting on the bottom. So it's a circle command from the top and stretch it out as far as that side. Let's move that back so you can see. It starts to get really confusing, but normally it's the largest circle that you will want to transfer, and that'll all be based around about this point here. So let's left click that, come into that middle point, and because we took it from this side and went across here, we're going to take it from this side and measure up to there. You can see now there's an intersection between the green and the yellow, the same as the intersection is between the green and the yellow, and because they are true lengths, that is the actual corner. So we could simply go up to bilayer, make it back to white in other words, grab a polyline from this corner and now identify that as being the top left hand corner. Now the easy way of doing this, because we know that this line over here is 1 inch and the thing is flat to us, we could simply push it to the right and just press 1, enter. Now that thing is flat. We can now come down to this corner and left click, and that is our developed side. And you can see that this side is actually bigger than this one and that one, although it's exactly the same side. And you see why we had to develop it, because we've lengthened the line. That line there is longer than this one here, so they actually get longer. And that has flattened out the pattern so that we can actually produce something from it. The alternate way, and the way that we did in class, was instead of putting this line straight across by 1 inch, we done the same sort of development on the right hand side. What we did was we put another circle over here between these 2 points, picked it up by its center point, brought it down to here, and repeated the process. And you'll find that because this is a symmetrical shape, you will actually get the same result both ends. And to prove that you will get the same result, all we really need to do is to place these 2 circles on either end. So what we could do, having developed the one, is say literally just bring that across. You can see where the yellow is going to touch. Yellow touches right on that point there, and if we copy the green one over from there to there, you can see that we got the same intersection on the right up here as we've got on the left. Okay, so that being said, that's the first piece done. The next piece, because we need to look at a cut line in here, it's normally done normally with these shapes with square to rounds and square to squares and all the other different types of triangulation developments. These things are normally done in 2 halves. So you can imagine a line being at the midpoint of this line to the midpoint of that line being a cut line. Okay. Now the very last thing I'm going to do on this section of the video, because I'm going to do a second video, try to make sure I keep them down to below 15 minutes, is show you the layer command. All these lines are in the way right now. If we just put the second section of lines for this segment over here, it would just be really miserable. So if you go up to this command here, which is the layer properties manager, and left click it, we can actually rename a layer, or we can go up to this icon, which is the new layer icon, and left click that, and you get a new layer there. We can call it layer one or top left or top right or whatever we want to call it. I'm just going to leave it on the layer it's on right now. But that one there will be good. Layer one is good. And you can see at the top corner there's a cross. This might be slightly different than your screen, but basically there's a cross at the top, and you can close it down. You'll see if you pop down this little layer bar that we've now got layer one up there as well. So just highlight all of the green and the yellow circles and lines that you've done. There's the two lines. I'm just finishing off with the circles. Right, I think that's all of them. Then do a right click on screen and go down to properties. And we just simply change the layer to layer one, which is the new layer. And then we can go to the top of this bar, which is up here, and close that one down. And then if we open up the layer list and hit the light bulb and left click on screen, everything apart from the basics will actually disappear. So we've just left our pattern up there because all we done was get rid of all the developments. Okay, well, I'll see you in part 2.